All right, hello everyone. I see a few people trickling in here as we've gone live. So we'll give it just about another 30 seconds before we actually get started. We'll start with the boring things, the housekeeping, which is me speaking, and then we'll move on to the stars of the show for tonight. So quick introduction, my name is Anna. I work with OzTREKK on our outreach team. I've been here for about 4 years. For those of you who aren't familiar with OzTREKK, many of you may be, some of you may not, but quick intro, we're a Canadian company. We work with Canadian students to apply to all sorts of programs in Australia. We partner with 13 Australian universities, one in New Zealand, and kind of just guide you through the process. Everything we do is free as we are funded by our universities. So for dentistry, we've got 4 experts here tonight. I'd also say after this session, if you still have more questions, I imagine you will, there's never an end to these questions, head back on over to Career Echo. We do have all of our university partners in attendance, so they're more than happy to chat and answer more questions. Throughout the rest of this evening, so the next 45 minutes or so, if you do have any questions, I'll ask that you just type those into the public chat here on the right-hand side. That way we can all see them, and we'll make sure we get to as many as we can. Again, if there are some that we don't touch on, there's lots more time to head back to Career Echo to get to those. So let's get things started. Very quick introduction. We've got Meher here, who's at the bottom. You'll see he's a Sydney DMD graduate and is now practicing as a dentist back in Edmonton. We have JC up on my screen up at the top, who is a Griffith graduate, BDS graduate, and is now a practicing dentist in Halifax on the East Coast. And then we have our 2 located in Australia and New Zealand. So Jay, Otago, BDS graduate, stayed in New Zealand and is now working there. And we have Sarah, who's at the University of Western Australia in her 4th year of the DMD program. So I'm going to hand it over, and perhaps we'll start with you, Meher. If you could just give us an intro of who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing now.
All right. So my name is Meher. I've been practicing for 3 years now. I'm originally from Toronto, moved to Sydney to study there. I studied at University of Sydney for 4 years, and decided to try my luck here in Alberta, Edmonton, and been here ever since. So I'm a general dentist. I've been practicing general dentistry for almost 3 years now, as I said. And yeah, been doing everything pretty much, ready to start doing some implants soon. And yeah, that's a bit of an intro about me.
The darn mute button, it never gets old, does it? JC, let's jump up to our other Canadian counterpart here, and if you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. My name is JC. I'm originally from Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, and I moved to Australia to study at Griffith University on the Gold Coast back in 2016. It was unlike Meher, it's a 5-year program there, so I was lucky enough to be in Australia for an extra year, and it was a BDS and what do they call it at the end? I think it was an MDent at the end. They switched it up a couple of times, and then after that, I moved back to Nova Scotia. I'm currently practicing in Halifax at 2 different clinics, and I've been working for just over a year now.
Okay, amazing. And Jay, let's head over to you.
All right, thank you. My name is Jay. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I came to New Zealand in 2017, actually, to study Bachelor of Dental Surgery. And this was actually before OzTREKK partnered with Otago. So I kind of never went through the OzTREKK route, but yeah, so I graduated last year. I've been practicing as a general dentist for about 3 months now. And yeah, I think I'm the only one representing New Zealand at the moment. I'm just practicing in Auckland right now.
All right, and Sarah.
Hello, my name's Sarah. I'm originally from Toronto, but I moved to Perth, WA in 2018 to study at the University of Western Australia. It's a postgrad DMD program. I'm actually in my fourth year. I took a year off in between when everything with COVID happened. So I'm just about to finish in a few months and hopefully we'll stay here.
Yeah, it seems to be a common theme these days, the desire to stay on in Australia, although you do have both options. So just jumping back to you, Maher, can you describe a little bit more about your journey into dentistry? How did you decide on this pathway, and how did you decide on Australia as a location?
For me, the pathway was really coincidental, I guess. One of my friends is a dentist and he graduated from NYU. And I was telling him how I was sort of deciding what I want to do with my life and all that. And he's like, come check out the practice I'm working at. You can shadow me a bit. And it went from, shadowing him once a week to going quite a lot. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know what, I like this, I want to do it. So applied, and Australia was never on the map for me, to be honest, until I was just doing my research and I found OzTREKK, and the application was super easy to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to lose anything applying. I already have everything, all my files set up. So I just uploaded everything, and surprise, surprise, I got an interview, and everything's history. So that's really how my journey started, and best decision of my life, to be honest. Going to Australia and studying there for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, just to go over to you, Jay, I'm not sure if for you choosing New Zealand, did you look at Australia as well? How did you come to that decision to complete your BDS at Otago?
I think for me, I think like most Canadian students, we look towards, the States, Australia, Canada. Those are the main three usually that we all look at. For me, I kind of just went down the list and saw that New Zealand was another accredited school as well as Ireland. But I don't think many Canadian students know about New Zealand. I certainly didn't. So I kind of just applied, to be honest, on a whim. Was able to get an interview, and pretty much, similar to my just kind of got the acceptance there, and I didn't really have a second thought. It was just, okay, it's a new place. I'm quite keen to kind of adventure around. So it's literally on the other side of the world. So yeah, kind of just went from there. And it's been very fun. New Zealand's been really great place to be in, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And JC, for you coming from Cape Breton, at what point did Australia kind of touch on your radar? And I suppose the second part to that is, did you know that you wanted to come back to Canada from the beginning, or was that something that you decided on later on?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I feel like my path to Australia sounds like it's very similar to everyone else so far. I had no clue that was even an option. I'd just actually applied to Dalhousie here in Halifax to dental school, and about a week after my application, I actually had a meeting with the registrar, and she had gone over a few things, and she said, you have a average, probably realistically below average application, but she was very nice to me and didn't want to say that to my face. So she said, good luck, and if you ever think about it, you should apply again if you don't get in the first round. And have you ever thought about studying in the US? So when I looked into that, that all came up, but then of course the price tag came up as well, and that was kind of a tough pill to swallow. So then all of a sudden stumbled upon Australia and stumbled upon OzTREKK, and yeah, definitely seemed too good to be true. I kind of thought that OzTREKK was like maybe a scam to begin with, because you folks were so easy to get in contact with, and then even the application was free and gave us money when we got there. So it all sounded too good to be true, but yeah, just like everyone else, it was certainly the best decision that I ever made. And I think going into it, I certainly wanted to come back to Canada. That was definitely the plan. But then within probably, I don't know, 2-3 weeks of being there, it was very much, oh, I'm going to try to stay in Australia and live here and work here. But then, yeah, COVID happened. I happened to graduate in December of 2020, and that kind of threw a wrench into things. So ended up coming back to Canada, and yeah, definitely happy here, but very jealous at the moment of Sarah and Jay for sure for being down there.
Yeah, I know. I feel you on that one, JC. Sarah, can you speak a little more to your decision to head to Western Australia, to UWA?
Yeah, so I had always wanted to go to dental school ever since I was young. So going into my undergrad, I sort of always thought about applying. In my third year of undergrad, so it was a 4-year undergrad, I started sort of looking at universities, thinking mainly to go towards the US. So OzTREKK had always been there because they did the fairs at Western and everything like that. So I noticed that with Australian dental schools, you only have to come here with a 3-year undergrad degree, whereas all the schools in the States, you need a 4-year undergrad degree. So when I saw that in my third year, or just coming to the end of my third year, I thought, why not apply to Australia? The application's so easy through OzTREKK. I'll just see what it's like. When I did that, I started getting interviews and I ended up getting accepted. So I went to my counselor at my undergrad, said, can I graduate now with my credits with a 3-year undergrad? So I did a summer course and they made it happen. So I just graduated then with 3-year undergrad in Canada and flew over to Australia a year early, which was nice because usually it's 8 years total postgrad, but I was able to cut it down to 7, which was lucky. On OzTREKK, when I was applying, the only universities I could apply to for a postgrad dental degree were Sydney, Melbourne, and UWA. So I think I was the first year of OzTREKK working with UWA. I hadn't heard of it at all, but I just saw it on the checklist and it was pretty much just an extra tick box and I got another application in. So I just hit them all and I said, I'll apply to them. And then I ended up getting accepted, sort of did a little Google search of Perth, looked nice enough. And then I ended up here, but it's very underrated. No one really knows about Perth, but I would highly recommend it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I'm just looking, you already have a few more questions coming in. I'm thinking actually maybe JC, you could speak a little bit more to your program at Griffith. So the 5-year BDS. Jay, I know that yours was a BDS as well, 4 years, I believe, but can you just provide a bit more insight into the difference between those bachelor entry ones and the post-grad? I know they're very similar, but.
Yeah, for sure. When I went to apply, I was kind of targeting Sydney and WA and Melbourne for those reasons, because it was post-grad and I was in my 4th year. But I was a little bit behind the times. So the only applications that were still available were JCU and Griffith, which were both 5-year programs. Definitely hesitant going into it, thinking, what the hell is a BDS? And then especially at Griffith, because they actually have a BDS or BOHDS and then an MDent. So it's a 3-year BDS and then a 2-year MDent. But yeah, the only real difference is just the amount of years realistically. I was able to come back to Canada. I wrote the exact same board exam as Canadian and American graduates, how to go through the exact same licensing process and have the exact same scope of practice as well as any graduate of Canada, the US, Australia, Ireland, and able to work here in Canada. So yeah, it's a bit confusing at first because you're kind of used to Canada maybe with just DDS or DMD and postgrad degrees. But yeah, in terms of the application itself, I believe you're able to apply out of high school. I'm sure, Anna, you know the workings of that. When I did apply, I think I sent in my DAT and then yeah, just my marks from my undergrad degree. But yeah, besides that, just the 5-year program.
Yeah, perfect. And I just typed a little few more details there. There's options for both, regardless of where you are. There's whether or not you want to look at the 5 or the 4 year programs. So just jumping around a little bit, I'm looking at Maher, you and you're all geared out and ready to work. It looks like you're about to accept a patient. Can you speak a little bit more to a day in the life? Like, what's your work day like as a practicing dentist, relatively new graduate?
Yeah, so a lot has changed since I graduated, obviously, since I started working for my first year. But to be honest, I think for me right now, my schedules are super busy and it's going to fluctuate. It's going to fluctuate with the practice you're in, it's going to fluctuate with the city you're in, the town you're in. So for me, for example, I went straight to rural practices, and so I was splitting my experiences between rural experiences and city experiences. Right now, my days are fully booked. You know, life's good, but don't expect it to be this way all the time. That's one thing that I come to peace with. It's dentistry is always going to be in demand. There's always going to be people coming to you. You just have to sort of bring your name out there and be a people's person, you know. But for me right now, a day is, you know, filled up with checkups, root canals, crowns, fillings, all the dental jargon that I can just throw at you right now. But it's fun. It's fun. It's something that definitely grows on you. Something that's definitely different experience-wise from what you learn in university. Think of it as the building block for what's gonna come to you when you start working in real world. But it's a lot of fun, and it's get ready to be busy. And yeah, that's probably how it is for me right now. You know, it's 3 years and it's only getting better. So take care of your back. Take care of your back. That's one thing for sure. Yeah, that my back right now is not the same that it was when I first started. So, and I've only been working for 3 years, so it's not even that long.
Getting old. Just started.
Right? Apparently. No, it's just you know, it all depends on what the dentists really want and what you want in life. You can be a really busy dentist, you can be doing a lot of difficult procedures, or if you want life to be easy for yourself, you can just stick to fillings for the rest of your life if this is what satisfies you. Yeah, but you know, I think we're all working hard and studied hard to be exceptional at what we do, and that involves doing a lot of fun procedures that, you know, not just fillings, I guess.
Yeah, no, good advice. Good advice, Maher. And just on a similar stream, Jay, I'm not sure if you can speak to that a little bit more. What was the transition like out of your formal schooling and into a professional role in New Zealand?
I think it really depends. Because in New Zealand, most people will either go to an urban area or a rural area. You know, if you go to a rural area, like you'll probably be busy right off the bat, fully booked. But if you go to a urban area such as Auckland or Wellington, you'll need to kind of build your client base and your patient base. So at first it'll be a little, you know, can be a little slow, but it'll definitely pick up just because there is a need for dentists all over New Zealand. And even for us this year, I think, you know, everybody were able to get a job in New Zealand. There was too much, there's actually a lot of clinics looking for dentists. And so there's a lot of good opportunities here. And yeah, I mean, like this transition was pretty smooth, I would say, especially in our last year. They prepared us quite well in terms of clinically. Their focus isn't, you know, to produce academics. Some may want to go that route, but the focus for us for last year is mainly prepare you for to be a dentist in the real world. So things will be a lot more fast paced in fifth year or the last year. and you'll be pretty prepared. I think it's more of a mental thing when you graduate. You know, if you're quite comfortable and you're kind of, you know, if you stay calm and poised, you'll kind of do quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, you know, you're in your fourth year now. Can you speak a little bit more to that? How do you feel in terms of the way that you've been prepared throughout your degree for practice?
Yeah, obviously don't really know if I want to go back to Canada what the Canadian board exam is like, but I feel fully prepared to graduate now if I had to. I feel like you learn all of the skills and hands-on in uni, but the more experience you can get throughout is better. So I work as a dental assistant. Like throughout my degree, I've worked as an assistant, which I feel like has helped me heaps throughout the course. The amount of exposure you can get will really just help your confidence in clinic. So I feel like, I think there's a question as well, like an anonymous one about budgeting. So assisting, I've worked as an assistant to get money as well to help me budget throughout. But in terms of my experience, I would recommend it to anyone being an assistant throughout your degree as well.
Yeah, so Sarah, you have, that's something you've done throughout your entire time, or just, yeah?
So my first year here, I didn't, but so the way the UWA program runs, or at least it did run when I started, the first year is totally sort of medicine based. So you go through with the med students, and then at the start of your second year is when you start in your preclinical dental labs. So my first year here, I didn't work as an assistant. I had no idea what was going on about teeth. But then when I started my second year, we started learning about dentistry. That's when I started working as a nurse. And I really helped they both kind of went hand in hand. I helped that helped my knowledge a lot.
Interesting. Okay. We do have a few questions here about the Canadian board exams upon coming back. Maybe I'll jump first to you, JC, to elaborate a little bit more on your experiences of those exams.
Yeah, for sure. So the board exams, I mean, in general, the Australian dental schools do a great job preparing you for the board exams. That's why they're accredited by the CDA. So the exam itself isn't really too bad. A lot of your resources can be found on the NDEB website, the NDEB. So there's a great question bank there. There's also resources in terms of where to study from and what materials you can get. You can write it in November, March, and I think May. And I believe that they have the writing or the sitting in Sydney in November. That might be changed now because of COVID, but yeah, I mean, school realistically, just like what Sarah was saying, when you're in your final year, you can write it then, and it's just like another exam. Just as long as you put in the hours to prepare for it, it's pretty easy to pass, and it's the exact same exam that you know, a Canadian graduate would write or American graduate would write. So yeah, I think once you get into school, like all your classmates will know, you know, what resources there are and where to get them.
Yeah, fantastic. Maher, anything to add to that from your experiences?
My experiences, well, I was working from year one up until probably a few weeks after my finals in year four. That's because, I mean, life is expensive in Australia. We all know that. We've all experienced it, and I don't know how more expensive it's become now, tuition wise, but you know, you need to be able to budget yourself quite well over there, and you know, getting into dental school means that you gotta be smart, right? You gotta be intelligent, and you gotta have some sort of qualities that can help you out in making money. And one of the things I was doing was I was tutoring. As much as I wanted to do assisting, which I mean long term would have helped out, for me it was tutoring. So I was teaching whatever courses I was comfortable with: biology, physics, math, all that. And that's a good way also to make money on the side as a student. I do recommend it. Do I recommend you to work a lot of hours? No, because that's going to be too stressful. But I definitely recommend working over there if you can. And I think by law, you're allowed to work 20 hours, I think every couple, 10 hours a week, I think, from what I know, from what I recall. But if you work as a tutor, you could charge quite a bit of money. You can make good money that you can spend on rent, on whatever expenses you want to spend it on. That's my suggestion, at least, to in terms of budgeting. I know you guys were talking about that. In terms of the boards, it was, I mean, it's material that's relative to what you've been studying all along for the past 4 years. That being said, there are some differences in certain topics studied in Australia versus in Canada, but it's very minor that it doesn't really require anybody to stress about it much, because once you have the resources, you're going to be okay. And there's quite a lot of resources that are floating around students, and you guys are not going to have a trouble sort of getting them and studying them.
Yeah, perfect. It seems to be a pretty common sentiment regarding those board exams. You just got to do them when you come back. But you
well, actually, you do them over there. Sorry to interrupt, but you do the board exams over there, right? So makes life so much easier. So the board exams are done in Sydney during our finals, which was ideal because we got the results and we were ready to practice within a couple of months, within 2 to 3 months, I think.
Right. So there's a question.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that last point, and one thing that might be useful, and I'm sure Sarah and Jay probably know, but when I graduated, the COVID basically had stopped that exam from happening. I'm sure it's back now, but maybe Jay or Sarah know that if it's still being written in Sydney in November.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Sarah, Jay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with whether that's being offered. Definitely jump back into CREWRECA. We may know the university, we do have the universities there, and our dentistry representatives as well. Might have a better answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not actually. I haven't really looked into it because I think I'm just going to stay. But although I should probably look into it, I think my parents would be happy if I wrote that exam.
There's a question here about time management, managing classes, clinic, and work. Sarah, can you speak a bit more to that?
It's all sort of, I work on Saturdays, so most dental clinics will be open on a Saturday. So you just go to your clinics Monday to Friday. They usually run 9 to 4, and then you do your study after uni. And then on Saturdays, I work all day, and Sundays is sort of the day to get everything back together. If you are okay with time management, it all works fine. I probably wouldn't work more than that. With the visa, you can't really work more than that. But if you were to work throughout the week, it would probably get to be a lot. You need those sort of nights during the week to catch up on your lectures and revise what you did throughout the day. But I find working 1 day a week pretty manageable. At least that's my experience.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that in terms of managing time while in dental school?
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, it's hard. As I said, it's really hard working and studying at the same time. It's quite stressful, but knowing the financial situations, everybody's financial situation is different. And if you obviously priority goes to your dental school and your studies, because that's the biggest investment you can do for the rest of your life. So that's what I would prioritize. And I did prioritize that, for example. But, if you can get a job that you're comfortable with, such as assisting, or any other thing that you're really comfortable with that can bring you high income with the least amount of hours. That's why I suggested tutoring, because the rates in tutoring is quite high and you can make probably the most amount of money within the least amount of time. So yeah, but as I said, if you don't need to, don't work. Simple as that. Go enjoy Australia or New Zealand and just study, ace your exams, and go back home or stay in Australia, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have to work, don't do it, right? In life in general. No, I'm kidding. I'm just thinking, Jay, so you are the only one here from New Zealand in this little crew. Can you tell us more just about your time living in New Zealand? What was it like? Did you have a favorite part of being in Otago?
Well, the University of Otago is in Dunedin, which is in South Island of New Zealand. So it's a very student centric town, city. And definitely, you know, if you're a person that loves nature, everything is quite accessible. It's only like, you know, the beach is about 30 minutes away. You know, you could go to Queenstown, which is about, you know, 2.5 hour drive. You definitely have time to explore around New Zealand for sure. Also, my last year, I came up to Auckland to actually finish my last year, and I kind of, similar to Sarah, I worked on Saturday and actually worked on Sunday as well. So I was pretty full on all of last year, pretty much clinics Monday to Friday, and then working Saturday to Sunday. It's definitely not easy, but you can definitely always make time to do certain things. Yeah, it'll definitely be stressful, but once you start working as a dentist, you know, things are a lot more flexible. You know, you work from 9 to 5, 4, 6, depends on, I guess, what your hours would be. But yeah, I mean, don't stress too much about it during school. Obviously, you have to pay your rent and your food and whatnot as a student. But for me, money, it comes and goes, so it's not something that I always stressed about. But definitely, if you can manage by working part time, it's definitely doable. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable.
Thanks, Jay. Sarah, there's a question specifically for you. You've mentioned a few times that you, as of now, you're planning to stay on in Australia. And Mayor here is curious as to your reasons why you'd like to stay in Oz.
Yeah, just about the budgeting, I just know if you're from Ontario, so you can get bank loans, but you can also get OSAP loans. So I think it's about 10 grand a year that you can apply for through OSAP, which is interest free until you graduate, which also really helps out if you are struggling to find a job or manage working and clinic time as well, which I used my first couple of years here. Just thought I'd add that. In terms of staying in Australia, when I moved here, my plan was to go back to Canada. Obviously, that's where all my friends and family are. But coming here, I realized that living in the snow wasn't really for me. I didn't really realize that until you move out of it. I love being outside. So in Perth, you pretty much live 10 minutes from the beach, 10 minutes from the city, 10 minutes from uni. Everything's so close. Just makes life a whole lot easier, and you can be outside throughout the whole year, which I really enjoy. So the lifestyle here is pretty much what made me want to stay. Going through my uni sort of degree, also I've built all of my dental connections here in Perth. So all the tutors I know really well. I work at a clinic which I'm really comfortable at, which working there when I graduate will make that transition a lot easier. So I feel like all of my networking has been done in Perth. So I feel quite comfortable in sort of the dental field here. So yeah, the lifestyle and also the dentistry just makes me sort of want to stay here. Although I miss my family, hopefully post all of COVID, I'll be able to go back and forth quite easily.
Yeah, good answer for sure. I might direct this one to you, Jay. There's a question here about staying on in Australia, but we'll go to New Zealand as well. Were there any exams required of you to start practicing in New Zealand after graduation?
No, you just have to graduate with the BDS degree here, and you just need to apply for a certification, which is about like $1,000, I think. But I feel like that's everywhere. Yeah, and then you can pretty much practice right away. There's no board exam that you need to do. No outside exams. Once you graduate, you can just kind start working. And one good thing about graduating from Otago as well, you can actually work in Australia as well, without doing any exams because you are accredited. So I do have the opportunity to, go to Australia and work there. Could consider Singapore as well if you want to work there. Can go back to Canada if you like, and do the board exam and work in Canada as well. So a lot of opportunities, with a BDS degree from Otago for sure.
Yeah, and Sarah just added in the chat there, as you said, Jay, Australia is the same thing. So there's no additional exams upon graduation. So I'm just looking at the time where we have a few more minutes left here. If anyone does have questions that are burning on the top of your head, feel free to throw them into that public chat there. We can definitely get to a few more. While we're waiting for those to come in, I'd love to hear, and I'm sure many others would as well, from the four of you. Do you kind of have a standout, a piece of perhaps, say, advice for students who are looking at pursuing dentistry and who are looking at Australia? Something that maybe you wish you would have known, or something you were really happy that you did know when you started on this journey? Maybe JC, start with you if there's anything you can think of.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say if you're thinking about going to Australia and you do apply and you get in, just don't think about it and just get a plane ticket and go over there. It's like everyone else has kind of said already, best decision personally that I ever made. Even though there was lots of maybe second guessing it, thinking that it's something new, maybe I should decline it or try again for Canada or whatnot. 100% best decision ever made, and yeah, absolutely enjoyed every moment of it in Australia. I think everyone brought up some really good points about budgeting and managing time, and yeah, everyone has their own experience, and if you can work, definitely do it. I think make the most of it when you're over there though too. Those 4 or 5 years are going to absolutely fly by. And then next thing you know, you're working, and it's not that easy to just hop on a plane and go, travel somewhere. So when you do move down there, try to see as much of Australia as you possibly can, and yeah, make the most of it.
JC, just while we're on you, the question came in. Can you touch quick on paying back loans when you returned back to Canada? Don't need to go into detail, but what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, loans, that's a thing too. You're going to have a lot no matter where you go. I was pretty lucky because at Griffith, although it is a 5-year program, I got credits for every single class that was non-dental. And they also offer a lot of scholarships for international students. So I would say if you are applying, if you do get in, apply to every possible scholarship you can. It's amazing what ones you end up getting and you think you had no chance. So yeah, at the end, you're still going to come out with a lot of money in debt. Paying it back is not too much of an issue. I mean, you're going to be working as a dentist in Australia or New Zealand or Canada. You're going to make a lot of money. I mean, that's of course, depending on where you're at and how busy you are and what your books look like, and even what province you're in. I know my over in Alberta, and their fee guide is quite a bit more than us here in Nova Scotia. It makes me a bit jealous, but is what it is. I think that yeah, paying back loans, it's not an issue. Even the Canadian loans at the moment, they're all interest free until 2023. That might be extended again, and then even your line of credits, for instance, from the bank, they're typically at prime minus 0.25%. So yeah, it's you won't have trouble paying back loans. It may seem stressful to begin with because you see that massive number or whatever it is, but you won't have any trouble.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're right. Our fee guides are much better.
Yeah, don't rub it in.
No, look, I made the sacrifice and I moved to a place where I didn't know anybody. And that's, I think, what everybody should do. Explore. That's the first thing you gotta do. You gotta make sure you get as much experience as you can the moment you graduate. But in terms of paying up loans, yes, it's a lot. But as you said, it's quite competitive. Banks are really dying to have our business anyway. So you're gonna get interests that are pretty lower than mortgages, lower than anything. So for me, when I first graduated, I used to just drop my paychecks into the loan because there's nothing that can give me 3.99% interest, like money back on my investment. So that's how I'm paying it off slowly. But it's not a problem. Banks love us. When you graduate, they're gonna love you even more, and they're gonna be giving you loans and more loans and more loans for the rest of your life if you want it. So I wouldn't stress about loans, to be honest. I would just make sure that you're pretty financially smart and you hire the right people, hire right accountants for that. But don't stress about loans right now. I think what's stressful about loans is paying them throughout the university. And that is something that you need a game plan for. And that's something that you sort of need to prepare yourself mentally for and take into consideration for sure. But once you graduate, that's not a problem. But during school, yeah, that could be stressful for some people for sure.
Yeah. And Maher, any advice, your golden piece of advice for all of our students here, something you wish you'd known?
Honestly, enjoy the experience of Australia. There's nothing more I loved about Australia, more than the fact that people are so amazing, so outgoing, and make sure you enjoy your time. Make sure you mingle with everybody. There's going to be a ton of Canadian students, but that's not what you're going for. You're going there to make friends with everybody and explore the country. And yeah, you got to do that, and make sure you also look up to see if the universities have any programs where you can fly to a rural town and work for 3 months. University of Sydney had a program where you work rural for 3 months, and I personally made the mistake of not doing it, so I'm telling everybody to go do it. You're going to create a good bond with some students of yours, some classmates of yours, and the experience is invaluable. So those are some few things. And go for brunches and drink a lot of coffee there, because they have amazing coffee in Australia. Yeah, you're going to miss that when you come back.
Oh, so good. Okay, I'm aware of time here. Jay, before you share your golden piece of advice, there is a specific question I'm not sure if you can answer. Someone asking about a prerequisite at Otago for the population health course. Do you recall what you took to meet that prerequisite? If you don't, no worries. We can answer that elsewhere.
To be honest, I don't remember. I mean, I graduated my undergrad, I don't know, 2015. So it's been a long time. Yeah, when I applied, again, OzTREKK wasn't a partner of it. I kind of had to apply it straight directly to Otago myself. So it was a little different then. So I'm not completely sure, to be honest, at the moment. I mean, I can definitely look into it as well, and get back to you guys for sure.
Yeah, and I'd say shoot an email our way to Dentistry at OzTREKK. Otago is also here in the career echo, so go pay them a visit after this, and we can help you out with that as well, for sure. Okay, we'll jump over to you, Sarah. Maybe again, just sharing kind of a final piece of insight. I know there was actually one more question here about just the transition to Australia, moving away from Canada, homesickness. How was that? Do you want a quick touch on that and then share your final sentiments?
Yeah, it's definitely a big change. You're moving across the world, but you just sort of start to make a life here. The dental program, you spend a lot of time together, so I don't think it's difficult to meet people. You're pretty much with them all day, every day. I feel like at the start, you're still quite connected. All your friends and family are back in Canada, but yeah, you just start to make a new life here. You have your friends here. You find your routine. I feel like if it's hard at the start, you just make the most of it. You travel around, you find what you like in the new place you're living. I feel like with the degree, it might seem daunting and tough at the start. Dentistry is quite like nothing like you've ever done before. As much as you go through your undergrad, you don't learn any of the hand skills. It's like learning to ride a bike. It's all new. But if it's something you enjoy, you push through, and then it just becomes fun. It's just an everyday thing. I feel like if you put the time in and it's what you enjoy, it's really worth it in the end.
Yeah, amazing. And on that note, we're just kind of hitting the end here. I know, oh, amazing. Jay, you've mentioned to give you a follow on Instagram, which is fantastic. I thank you to the four of you for spending this hour and providing all of this insight. That's, you know, so helpful, so amazing. And for everyone who tuned in, I hope this is enjoyable. I'm sure it was. If you do have any questions, again, pop back over to Career Echo. All the universities are there, so are we. So yeah, I think that's it. Again, thank you so much to the four of you.
No problem.
No worries. Thank you.
Right, enjoy your days and nights, and we'll talk soon.